There are several things you don't talk about with motorcyclists. Politics, religion, and perhaps choice of tyre should be included, because there's a lot of differing opinions out there on the pros and cons of individual brands and models of tyres. Now, the older classics like this Moto Guzzi Le Mans are certainly sensitive to tyre choice, and the handling of the bike will change as the tyre wears. Unlike a more modern bike fitted with radial tyres, it's unusual to notice a great change in handling as the tyre wears, whereas these older bikes, as the tyres square off, you will find that the handling characteristics in corners will change quite markedly. They're also very sensitive to tyre pressures as well. Now, the original tyres on this were Metzler Lasertex, and when it came time to replace them, it was recommended to me that I give the Pirelli Sports Demons a try. So they were duly fitted and balanced, and off I went. Now, initially, I had nothing but good things to say about them, in that the handling was very nice. It was nice and neutral, certainly turned well into a corner, and the grip was superb. Now, after a couple of thousand kilometres, things started to change. I started to get a wobble in the front end at around 80 kilometres an hour. This was just very slight if you took your hands off the handlebars. But over the next couple of thousand kilometres, it got quite severe. It was quite controllable, but only if you kept your hands on the bars. But if you happen to reduce your tension on the bars, you could actually feel it start to build up a bit of a wobble. Now, the front tyre had scalloped a fair bit on the leading edges of the tread, but that's not unusual on these style of tyres on these older bikes. So I can't really say that that was the cause of the problem, but it could have contributed. Now, I always make sure that my tyre pressures are correct, so I doubt that the running it underinflated cause any issues, because I don't use this bike for commuting. I only use it for country riding, and I check tyres before every ride. With the sort of riding I do, I guess it wasn't unexpected, but the front and rear tyre were actually wearing out at pretty much the same rate, which is fairly unusual. But then I don't commute and I don't do highway miles. I just do corners, really. On taking the Pirelli Sports Demons off, the tyre fitter noticed that there was a thin line across the tyre at what was probably the mould mark where I suppose the outer layer of rubber was laid on, and it was starting to separate. So perhaps the front tyre was starting to delaminate. It was a very thin line or mark, and it was right across the entire tyre, so it couldn't have been caused by I suppose, a cut or something, and then it was quite even. Now, could this be down to a bad batch of tyres, or is it a problem with the compatibility of the Sports Demon with the Tonti frame Moto Guzzis? Well, it's rather hard to tell with only a single pair of tyres, so I'd probably give Pirelli the benefit of the doubt there. Without some feedback from other users, it'd be hard to say. Though I have heard more recently that a couple of other owners of Moto Guzzis have had high-speed wobble issues with the Sports Demons, but I don't have any details, so I can't really comment any further. I will say, though, that we are running these tyres on our Moto Guzzi 750 Breva, and they've been superb in that role, which is primarily as a commuter. But it also gets some country miles, and the tyres have been faultless. Now, when it did come time to replace them, I decided to go with Bridgestones this time around, and we went for the Batlax BT45s front and back. Now, I'd have to say that so far my experience with the Bridgestones has been quite good. Initially, I didn't think that they had quite the same level of grip or the same stability in cornering, but as the kilometres built up, I believe that that changed, or just my impression of them changed. I can't really comment further on that, but I find them quite confidence-inspiring now, and I'm quite happy to take them quite right to the edge of their capabilities. The front is showing an amount of scalloping, and I suspect I'm going to wear both tyres out at the same time again. But that's just down to how I ride the bike. You know, I'm just not doing any commuting, as I said before. Now, I'd certainly recommend that other owners of Tonti frame Moto Guzzis, and certainly the small blocks, have a look at the Bridgestones when it comes time to replace their tyres, because they're a good alternative to the Pirelli Sports Demons. And certainly, if you've had any issues with the Sports Demons the way I have, I'd certainly like to hear in the comments section. But in closing, I'd like to say, it's in hindsight, I probably should have been checking my tyres a little bit more closely for defects. And this issue with this, I suppose, delamination, if that's what it was, would have come to my attention a lot earlier if I'd actually inspected the front tyre all the way around. But in reality, when you check your tyre, you really just check the tyre pressure and the area that is in view. And that could lead to a bit of a disaster. But anyway, I'll see you next time.